All right. Well, good morning, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting to order, the Polk County Board of Commissioners. Today is Tuesday, October 24th. There are extra materials and agendas on the back table. Feel free to help yourself. All commissioners are present, either virtually or in person, and we will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, first up is comments for any items not on the agenda. Is there anything we need to hear? Yes. You may have a seat, state your name for the record.
Hello, everyone. Greetings, commissioners. I'm Ann Scheck, and I am a local press person. First of all, I want to give a shout out to Val. We had a resident who spotted some tax items, and I was able to confirm them with her through her patience and kindness. And I just want to say thanks. Well, I'm just bringing this to you because I just don't know what to do. And maybe I'm stepping out of my bounds here, but I've got this idea to do a business card sized list of resources or someplace that can be notified or called that I could maybe give to the homeless who have continued to approach me as I make my rounds in Independence. I have nothing to give them except occasionally some protein candy bars. And I don't like to impart money because I don't know quite what I'm paying for. But it occurred to me the other day, as one gentleman was speaking with me, that I don't have a really concise list of something that I could just say, you can call this, you can contact this in a hyper local way. So our police department gave me a flyer of numbers and information from them. And then Mr. DeMoe was kind enough to email me and say that he is updating their information. I just thought I should run it by the county commissioners. It's something that I'm doing on my own, but I'm not sure how appropriate it is for me to compile this and begin distributing it. So I just thought I'd bring it up. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments before we begin? Come on up, Jody. Morning.
Good morning. My name's Jody Russell. I live in Monmouth. And I wrote this out so that I didn't miss any points, so I apologize for reading this. Good morning. I'm here today to make a comment in favor of doing more to help our neighbors experiencing homelessness. I watched Salem do nothing as their homeless problem got out of control. They did nothing until they started fighting over where the solution would reside, and then they fought more about that. While they were busy ignoring and fighting, their problem just got bigger and bigger, more and more expensive, and more visible to the casual observer. I said if it was my town, I would stand up and help rather than obstruct. Well, the problem came to my town and other cities in rural Polk County, and I watched the communities rise up in opposition to doing anything about it, as if doing nothing would make the existing problem go away. My reaction was to get involved. I attended local public meetings, took tours, and asked questions. I've looked at the data and it matches what I've seen around me. Homelessness is a significant issue because housing is unaffordable for many residents. Rents of more than 30% of household income qualify as unaffordable because it puts a strain on family budgets that can cause a small disruption in income or an increase in bills to turn into homelessness. Homelessness can turn into chronic homelessness if resources are not available to help move people back into housing and provide wraparound services to improve success. Open-ended chronic homelessness costs a community more than prevention does. through EMS costs, additional policing, ER departments used for primary care, sanitation issues, fire response due to cooking fires, additional resources for homeless students due to disruption in education, etc. Prevention is not only less expensive, it's more compassionate. The PATH's 5-year strategic plan lays out the problem, which resources we have, which resources we need, and the goals and strategies to address and prevent homelessness moving forward. It breaks the goals down into manageable chunks that work together to move us toward ending homelessness. It identifies some of our major issues as a lack of affordable housing and not enough transitional housing to keep people housed while they wait for housing assistance to come through, or to help transition people from homeless camping or living in cars into housing. Please count me as an active, involved, and informed community member who supports PATH's 5-year strategic plan, the FCO, and service integration team's goals of helping our neighbors while doing it in a cost-efficient way. Please join me in supporting real solutions to our growing homelessness issues. Thanks.
Thank you for your testimony. Any others like to speak before we begin? Okay, if other questions come to mind or comments after the presentation, we'll set aside some time for that as well. But next up, I'd like to bring Brent DeMoe and Marianne Bradshaw forward to present the 5-year strategic plan on rural homelessness.
We do the approval of the minutes.
Oh, yes, sir. Point of order was made. First, I'd like to make sure we approve the minutes of October 17th.
So moved.
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. And we also have Ryan with us. So why don't you guys introduce yourself? This, of course, is a result of House Bill 4123, the funding we received as a pilot community for rural Polk County. This strategic plan is part of that charge. And it's been a year plus of work. So really appreciate you all being here. Go ahead and introduce yourself. Just take it away, Brent.
Good, sounds good. Good morning, commissioners. Brent DeMoe. I'm the director of Polk County's Family and Community Outreach Department.
Good morning. Nice to be with you this morning, commissioners. Marianne Bradshaw. I am a consultant who's been working to support this work.
Good morning, commissioners. My name is Ryan Pollard. I'm also with Polk County Family and Community Outreach as a homeless prevention and outreach coordinator.
Well, as Commissioner Gordon said, House Bill 4123 is the reason that we're here presenting this plan. House Bill 4123, the 3 major things that we're going to talk about required us to create a homeless response office, which we have stood up in January of this year. Our focus, as with all of our programs in FCO, is on prevention. So Ryan introduced himself. He is coordinating that project. And we also have Grace Aiken, who is a full-time resource connector working with the houseless population. One of the other things that House Bill 4123 tasked us to do was to bring partners together. And I think it's important to reiterate that our focus is in rural Polk County. We intentionally are excluding West Salem in this particular venture because of the difference between urban homelessness and rural homelessness. So our focus area is west of Highway 51, Monmouth, Independence, Dallas, PD, Falls City, Grand Ronde, Willamina, Rick Rial, Perrydale, the rural parts of our county. And one of the first tasks that we needed to do is to create a 5-year strategic plan. And you can see we were very intentional. We're not trying to end homelessness. That's going to be a very difficult, if not impossible task. Our 5-year strategic plan is to address homelessness and focus on prevention. So today we are going to give you just a very high level overview of the 5-year strategic plan. And then Ryan is going to give you, Marianne's going to talk about that part. And then Ryan's going to give you some real practical examples of how we've already put parts of this plan into motion, especially focusing on prevention. Marianne?
Great, thank you. We do have a beautiful 5-year strategic plan. And as Brent articulated, it lays out a collection of goals. So you've got the full document, but I'm going to direct your attention to the handout. It's just a front and back. And this summarizes action items that are in the plan. So we're going to focus using that handout this morning. There's a graphic that highlights 3 foundations and 3 solutions. The foundations are across the bottom, and our goals are to use those foundations as values to inform the actions that are taken across the solution categories. So we'll collaborate at all levels, partnering with different service providers, fostering communication and partnership there, also engaging community members. A second foundation is around data and evidence to integrate data sources, to communicate data that's local and current, and also equity to work towards having accessible services to everybody. If you look on the back, you will see the 3 solution categories. We intentionally have prevention listed as number 1. As Brent articulated, prevention is a really important priority in Polk County. And so it's a very significant part of our plan. It's a very significant focus in where we will allocate resources and outreach. We have our goals there, looking both at holistic prevention and then prevention in the face of imminent risk. So how do we support the community holistically to be more self-sufficient, but then also working with households who have received an eviction notice or recognize that they are facing an imminent challenge. There's a specific goal there that we set in 2023 to prevent homelessness for 120 households. And then in each year throughout the rest of the 5-year plan, we would like to plan for working towards prevention for households at imminent risk of 100 households per year. And these goals, looking out throughout the 5-year timeframe, we'll review and revisit as we have more current data, but helpful in a strategic plan to lay out some measurable targets. For 2023, one of the great things about this plan is that as we've been having communication meetings and discussions, and we've already been working against some of the goals that we set, prevention being one that Ryan and the FCO team have been working diligently on. And that goal of 120 is one that we've already met and exceeded so far in 2023. So Ryan, why don't you share a little more about prevention?
Yeah, so in regards to prevention, I'm actually going to refer you guys to the other 2 handouts that we provided. One of which is basically their annual reports. One is from the fiscal year of 2021 and 2022. The other is from the fiscal year of 2022 and 2023. So we're going to start at the 2021-2022. We had a total of 195 funding requests all throughout rural Polk County that in partnership with Polk County Family and Community Outreach. A lot of this was preventing homelessness. So this is people that either had evictions or they had an emergency, something where they couldn't meet rent, they couldn't meet deposit, that we were able to help step in and provide funding for. And then in 2022, 2023, we had a massive jump. We had 544 more requests than the last fiscal year, for a total of 739, almost spending about $1 million to help really prevent homelessness. A lot more people came to Dallas. There's a giant jump of requests from 63 in the prior fiscal year to 193 total requests for Dallas alone. So it just kind of shows that there is a high need in the community. And we also track that data. So we have a database that tracks all of it. In the 5-year strategic plan, we actually laid out imminent risk data. And one of those data points was that there was 18 total families that we were working with that were imminent risk and 36 children, with 110 total unduplicated individuals for the imminent risk population that we were working with. So that's a lot of people that were, about to be homeless.
Thank you. I think that accomplishment and the support that is already being provided, looking back at 2023, is just outstanding, and looking forward throughout the rest of this 5-year window to continue to have the resources and the personnel to continue supporting households is great. Thank you.
Just a quick jump in. Commissioner Pope, I know you might ask this question in a few minutes. Where's that money come from? Or what dollars are we spending there? The majority of that money comes from contracts through state government, through community action or other sources, rental assistance, deposit assistance, utility assistance, energy assistance. Most of that money in the state of Oregon flows to community action agencies. They in turn contract that with us as we are on the front lines, and because we have a co-location resource center, most of the clients are our clients anyway. There's a few other smaller funding streams in there, which are either philanthropic or grants, but that is where the over $1 million that Ryan was referring to, that's where that money comes from.
Great. So first solution area of goals is prevention. The second area then is to improve the effectiveness of the homeless response system across the housing continuum. So this section, we're going to talk about outreach, transitional housing, and rapid rehousing. So outreach, there are people who are currently unsheltered, living in their cars, sleeping in the streets or in the parks. And there are folks from FCO, from the ROC, which is our Recovery Outreach and Community Center, from Community Action, who are going out, connecting with people, chatting with them, understanding their situations, and helping connect them to resources. So we have goals there around collaboration and doing that more effectively. A second piece within that homeless response system is transitional housing. As people are experiencing homelessness, bringing them into a place where they can sleep that is safe and stable with the locked door as a stepping stone towards getting into their own place with a long-term self-sufficiency trajectory. Often this transitional housing is a really important piece in that continuum. We have set a goal for 2023 to open 80 new beds. That's a big number. The great news is, like our prevention goal, this is a goal for 2023 that we haven't exceeded this one, but we're just on the cusp of meeting 80. The Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde have stood up several transitional housing sites. They have two. One has 10 units that are 10 by 10, and one has 15 units that are 10 by 15. And across those two sites, they have structured a support system with wraparound services for up to 50 people. So that's 50. And then if they're Warriors of Hope, they've opened 2 houses with 10 beds each. So that's 20, bringing us to 70 in our PATH service area. Edgar Hall, and Ryan will talk about Edgar Hall, is open this summer, and that has 6 beds. So that's 76. And our youth house that will be in Monmouth and is through the Youth Homelessness Prevention, YHCP, Youth Homelessness Demonstration Program, that will have 5 beds. So as that comes online the end of this calendar year, we will, for 2023, be at that target. And then again, we'll review data annually as needed, but with a plan to be targeting adding another additional 50 beds in each of the next years of this 5-year plan. Why don't you share more about Edgar Hall?
Yeah, so Edgar Hall, it's amazing that it just opened. We just got done housing our first family there. They successfully stayed there, and they were successfully housed in partnership with other community partners and Polk County Family and Community Outreach. And we just have our new family that's in there. So our second family is staying there. And there's total wraparound services while they're there. They're working with other county organizations, DHS, Polk County Behavioral Health. They're connected to all the resources while each family is staying at Edgar Hall. So we're really excited about this project and to continue housing families. Other transitional housing, as Marianne touched on, is Grand Ronde. And so one of the things we're also trying to do is increase our outreach. And so one of the things our goals is to partner with Grand Ronde and to reach the community out there with wraparound services for those who are staying in their transitional housing units. For rapid rehousing, we actually partner with Community Action Agency, Arches. They actually co-locate with us at our academy building. They're going to have about 5 total staff. They're currently in the hiring process, but we partner very closely with them in regards to rapid rehousing. In partnership with them, we've currently housed 4 families, 13 total individuals. Another family is moving in November, and another family is approved for housing, but we're kind of working around the other barriers that they need to get in for housing. So it's a great partnership there. Our goal is to hit 50 households by January, and we're moving as fast as we can. Sable House also does rapid rehousing in Polk County. They've housed over 15 families already here in rural Polk County. And so we are partnering with them to just make sure that we meet our rapid rehousing goal of 75 households in 2023. So it's been a great partnerships, and the community has done a lot to really address and prevent homelessness.
Ryan, can you talk a little bit more about the rehousing process, given the deficiencies in available affordable housing units? How are you connecting people to housing?
Yeah, great question, Commissioner. So one way we're connecting people to housing is we have developed a lot of relationships with landlords in rural Polk County. We hold a landlord luncheon meeting. Currently, it's about once every quarter. But that might increase as more landlords start to come. But they know about our rapid rehousing program. They know what it's about. And so our goal is to have really good, close relationships with them to help house all these homeless clients. Yeah, great.
It's mostly private sector, private market units versus housing authorities or Polk CDCs. Is that where
Correct.
most people are going?
Yep.
Okay.
Mostly. To give a little bit more, just a practical example, this isn't like word for word, but it's a loose example of how this happens. Either through service integration or through our school-based mental health team or other partners, someone is identified. They could be living in a garage somewhere. They could be staying in a car. They could be in a tent. However, this family is identified or an individual that they're struggling and they either are on the cusp of being homeless or they are homeless. People like Ryan and Grace and the street outreach team from Community Action, they'll go and meet with those folks and kind of assess the situation. Something called a coordinated entry assessment is done with each one of those folks. It's a fancy term for an interview that takes about 45 minutes to really find out their history, those types of things. We're really good at vetting. All of the money that we have is specific for rural Polk County. You have to be from rural Polk County to qualify for these programs. What that doesn't mean is you can just walk to Polk County or pull up in an RV and say, now I'm from Polk County. It doesn't mean that you can be here for 2 months and say that you're from Polk County. We go through a process to make sure that we're finding out kids are in school here, somebody lived here, somebody grew up here, someone had a job here. We're really tying people to the rural part of Polk County. Again, that's what our funding is tied to. Once that process happens, not everybody is going to qualify for rapid rehousing. There could be things in their past that are going to stop them, certain kinds of criminal history, certain things that they've done in their past, they're not going to qualify for this particular program, but a bunch of the folks do. And what that means is with Ryan and Community Action, we're able to, with these relationships with local landlords, get people moved into an apartment or a duplex housing of some kind. Community Action Agency comes alongside and pays those rents for a year and provides case management every single week or every single month, whatever is appropriate. And at the same time, we're working with that family to apply for a regular housing voucher or other ways to have something more permanent than just the 1 year of funding provided by rapid rehousing. All of those folks are connected to every resource, whether it's a county resource or a partner that partners in Polk County to give that family the best chance for success.
I just want to chime in, Commissioner Gordon, your question leads us directly to our third category, which is the third solution area of increasing the supply of affordable housing. Polk County population has grown rapidly over the last few years. It's the third fastest growing county in Oregon in the last 3 years. And the supply of housing has not kept pace. So the challenges of finding a place are real, and particularly finding units of affordable housing. There's a deficit here. We need more. And so this is an
Stop you
opportunity.
right there.
Yeah.
You've used affordable housing several times.
Yeah,
So for the record, define that, please.
sure. So if we look at the median income, so the AMI is the area median income. And when we look at that median income
Which is what?
for rural Polk County, so I would have to check.
I'm just trying to set the baseline for the audience here.
Yes, thank you. So when we look at affordable housing, we're looking at household sizes. So some of the if we are saying, here's the rent, affordable housing is at 80%. It's affordable to, okay, I'm not saying this right. I'm going to look it up and try again. Sorry, that's a good question.
I just think it's important.
It is important.
Yeah,
Yep.
I don't mean to cut you off, but
Yeah, while she looks it up,
we keep talking affordable housing.
We
In a
do.
marketplace right now where people with real jobs
Yeah,
can't afford a mortgage,
right.
right? I mean, 8% interest, market rates that are through the roof. What's affordable housing?
So I'm going to turn to West Valley Housing Authority. The 2-bedroom unit, that rent of $1,245 is the fair market rate that they use. So when we look at available units, the rents for the majority of 2 bedrooms are above that. So it's very challenging to find housing at what is being set for our region as a fair market rate. And that is then what is affordable.
Again, when you say set, I just want to make sure we're clear on this. That's market set. I mean, the marketplace is establishing that.
So the number.
And you're
that is-
using a formula for AMI in there to calculate what that rent affordability should be. But the fact is, the marketplace establishes these numbers. And again, we have lots of competition for those spaces.
Right,
Am I
so the
right?
rents that are set, the landlords set them,
Mhm.
but the fair market rent that is set, that West Valley Housing Authority is using, that set by HUD for our region.
And folks who qualify for the voucher program to make 80% of area median income,
To
right?
be eligible.
To be eligible. And then some programs are for people who make 30 to 50%. So it depends, definition depends a bit on the program. And, but generally, you know, people who pay over a third of their income on rent are rent burdened. People who pay 50% or more are severely rent burdened by, you know, by these programmatic definitions and experiential reality too. So. Good question.
I guess the place I want to make certain that we're clear with the public is that affordable housing isn't some category of housing over here that we're just looking to occupy. It isn't. You're competing extremely hard to find any spaces that you can qualify as affordable housing.
Correct.
I also heard that the West Valley units and the Polk CDC that are, that definition of affordable housing set asides are, there's waiting lists. I'm assuming. And that's what I'm hearing at Polk CDC.
It's difficult for anybody to find housing in rural Polk County right now if you're renting. If you're going to rent, staff that have come on at FCO just looking for an apartment or something to rent, it's really, really expensive. But you're correct in how you're defining and kind of changing that narrative on affordable housing.
Yeah, they want affordable housing too. So,
Yeah.
I mean, we're all competing for that.
Right.
Sorry, thank you for that.
No, yeah, thank you. Good clarifying question.
Lyle, do you want to make a comment there?
Yeah, thank you. So on the housing authority's base rent that is affordable, is that based on our median income? Is that the 30% of the county's median income? Or is that something based on government theory?
Commissioner, I don't think we know the exact answer on how that housing authority sets that. We know that there's standards through HUD, which is who funds them. What we can tell you in the 15 years that I've been here, what a voucher will pay for is never the market rate. You know, it is always below. Trying to find landlords who will set their rent price to the voucher amount is difficult because they have bills to pay and they have things that they have to do. And one of the common misunderstandings with the voucher program, if the landlord charges $1,000 a month for rent, but the voucher is only $800, some people think the family can come up with $200 on their own. It doesn't work that way. It has to be, the rent has to be the same amount as what the voucher is. So that makes it really, really difficult. If the housing authority will pay $1,100 for a 2-bedroom, we're not finding hardly any 2 bedrooms in this area for $1,100. They're a lot higher than that. So it would mean that a voucher would work on those properties.
Thank you, Brent. That's what I was looking for.
Sorry to get us in a conversation. We'll continue with the presentation, but I'm just also curious, how many folks with vouchers are we placing in apartments? Are those lunches helping folks price some units according to the voucher amount?
Yeah, for those who have vouchers, we actually currently have a staff that's kind of dedicated to help those specifically who have vouchers. As a total number, I don't know off the top of my head,
Right.
But I can say with our landlord luncheons and our connections with the landlords, they are more open to renting to those with housing vouchers and to working with us as we work with the client and help address a lot of the barriers so they can get into housing.
And some of those barriers could be application fees, move-in costs that might not be charged against that voucher for rent. So they would be allowed under HUD rules is how I understand it.
Correct.
Okay.
Another barrier might be like someone was fleeing domestic violence and something happened in the family realm to where, the person who has experienced domestic violence didn't know that they had a month's worth of rent. They were back a month's worth of rent that was on their record. So we'll help to identify that barrier and help to get that removed so they can get housed.
Just to bring a little bit more specifics, West Valley Housing Authority currently contracts with my department to hire that full-time person that Ryan spoke of, and their job is to do nothing but help people find housing who have a voucher. So they attend a weekly meeting with the Housing Authority every Tuesday or Wednesday when the new folks who get their name drawn off that waiting list. And then we offer case management and resources, connection to all of those landlords that we have relationship with. And in round numbers, we house 80% of the people who have a voucher through our staff person at the Family and Community Outreach Department. Anybody who has a voucher that we're working with, we're placing about 80% of those folks into housing.
Thanks for the discussion. Sorry.
That's great.
Well, again, we said we were going to do just real high level. It's a 50, 60 page document. So we're trying to pick and choose to give you guys a little bit. We're going to wrap up the high level part, answer any questions you have. And then of course, whether it's individual meetings or a more robust meeting with you all on any particular subject you have, we're happy to do that. What's our big finale? Did we have one?
I thought you were going to tap dance.
Oh, my leg hurts.
The big finale was increase the supply of affordable housing.
Yeah, I think it's also safe to say as the PATHS group, which is made up of folks from all of the cities, the Confederated Tribes, and also Community Action, that's one of the hardest ones that this group is going to positively affect. Just to instantly create more housing in rural Polk County is difficult. But with cities changing some of their codes and policies, allowing more units per lot, cottage clusters, other creative types of solutions, we know that there are folks working on this in all of the municipalities within rural Polk County. The Family and Community Outreach Department focus is on prevention. It is so much more cost effective to work with families when we first identify that they're struggling with something, and to be able to help them usually just one time get over that hump so they're not getting evicted. They're not getting that on their record. They're not ending up on the street or living with relatives and having that trickle effect, that downhill slope of ending up into homelessness. This new building that the county is working on in Monmouth, the amount of partners that are going to be there is staggering, where somebody like Ann, who's meeting somebody on the street, the answer is going to be, starting in January, please go down to the Polk Community Resource Center, because every agency that we've talked about is going to have staff there to work on the prevention and the treatment side of when somebody is experiencing a hard time. That's our kind of our high level of all the work that's been going on for almost the last 18 months. And we're happy to answer any specific questions that you have. And if we don't have the answer, we will come back to you and get that to you.
Great presentation. Questions for the team?
So I'm trying to see in this executive summary where the financial plan is for the 5-year strategic plan. So I see the current funding and operations funding, but I don't see the 5-year plan to accomplish all this.
Commissioner, are you asking specifically about the $1 million that we received from this House bill, or?
It has a maturity date, right?
No, we can keep that until it is expended. We don't have to spend it by a certain date. We just have to keep doing this work.
Okay, so
The original $1
we
million.
gotta plan that $1 million over the 5 years. So
Yeah, the majority of that money we have earmarked to make sure that people like Ryan and Grace are still doing this work. The coordination and the staffing part is the most important piece. So in about the 18 months that we've had that money, by the end of this fiscal year, there'll be $632,000 left of the $1 million. So June 30th, we will have spent not quite half. We are using that money again for staff coordination to do this work, to bring those partners together. That money in this office has already leveraged all of the funding that we're getting from not only the governor's emergency fund, but community action. We're over $1.5 million in leveraged cash funds to do this type of work, especially on the prevention end. That's our bread and butter, is prevention. Over the next 6 months, as we see what new money there might potentially be, it will all go into continuing this plan. I think Mary Ann said this at the beginning. This plan is definitely going to change in a year, and it's going to change every year after that, depending on what the need is, what the focus is, what leadership wants our department to do, and what funding stream comes in. There'll be updates to this at least annually. Bet.
On that data piece, I know we talked a bit about the point in time count, and the Homeless Alliance is leaning towards not doing an unsheltered count this year. It's not required. It's required every 2 years, I believe. But just curious if your teams have talked about another Connect event, just to make sure our internal data is consistent over time, because I think if we get data every 5 years, I know you have caseload data, but just kind of tracking things over those 5 years, it's part of the plan, obviously, but I think those discussions should continue. And, I don't want to put a burden on your staff for a yearly Connect event, but something we might want to think about.
Absolutely. We are still internally talking about the merits of doing another point in time count. When we did it last year, it was very staff intensive. It was partner intensive, and you saw the results. We actually counted more people and got the best point in time count rural Polk County has ever seen. My fear is if we don't do it as robust as we did it last time, it's going to look like the problem actually decreased. But the amount of work it takes to do that, that's the part we're debating. January apparently is a little bit busy for our department with moving to this new building and all of the things that go with that, plus a bunch of other things that are happening, the holiday project and things like that. But we are not opposed to still doing a Connect event. In fact, we've reserved Central High School just in case to do the biggest event we've ever done. So it'll be a staff capacity thing, and we're working that through in the next week.
I don't think it'd be horrible if we skipped a year and just, center some of that data conversation on your caseload data and then continued when you guys are freed up a little bit. I don't know if that's a big issue.
Lot to consider.
All right. Any other questions or comments?
Yeah. So Brent, with FCO moving over to Monmouth, will you be placing a satellite office here in Dallas to maintain connections here for the residents of Dallas?
Good question, Commissioner. If you guys go back to the handouts that we had, one of the biggest increases in services that we saw was how many people we are working with in Monmouth and Independence compared to the year before. It is over 70% of our current caseload. And what is interesting is they're families that we've never worked with before because being located in Dallas was such a barrier transportation wise. So to answer your question, our plan right now in the first year of operation is to very much stay focused in Monmouth and get that co-location site. But every single one of our programs is mobile, every single one. Mr. Hansen has already told me if we need to grab office space somewhere, he's going to make that happen. Our staff can meet people anywhere in the county if they have a need. After that first year, we're really going to assess, are we seeing a larger need in Dallas than we thought? And should we have some kind of presence here? Our goal has always been to have staff in every part of rural Polk County in some sort of small resource center setting, but that's not necessarily possible. It may be incrementally over the next 10 years, but we're going to be in Monmouth and Independence with all of our programs having the ability to come to Dallas or to provide transportation for people to get to the new Polk Community Resource Center.
I just want to make sure that Dallas isn't faced with the same challenges that Independence has with the transportation to get to the needs to meet the people.
It'll be a balance, and we're going to keep a close eye on that.
Thank you.
Well, great job. I just want to give a shout out to this team. The process drafting this plan and approving the plan was excellent. Plenty of opportunity was given to all of the cities and the tribes to give input. And it was really a collaborative effort. And when you get a unanimous thumbs up from the committee, I think it's a sign of good work. You've done incredible work. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you all very much.
Okay. Any non-listed items or other comments or reflections based on the presentation that anybody would like to make before we adjourn? I'm hearing none, so we will adjourn at 9:40. Thank you.